What if the person you buried last year just called you tonight? She sat in her car, parked on the edge of a quiet Los Angeles street, her mascara smudged, her phone lighting up with messages she couldn't bring herself to read. The city that once shimmered with promise now looked like a stage she no longer belonged on. Just one more audition, she whispered to herself. Just one more chance. But even she didn't believe it anymore. The radio played softly, an old American song about chasing dreams and losing yourself somewhere in between. She stared out the window, watching strangers walk by, laughing, living, like they'd all figured out something she hadn't. Her name was Lily Carter, 26, born in a small town in Indiana. She came to California with a suitcase full of scripts and a head full of hope. She thought talent was enough. She thought being kind mattered. She thought people meant what they said. Then came the meetings, the smiles that hid conditions, the promises that turned to debts. Every door she knocked on opened with a price tag. And one by one, she sold her dreams just to survive. A photo shoot that wasn't really a photo shoot, a role that came with expectations she never agreed to, a favor she never wanted to owe. But she told herself, it's only temporary, it's just how the game works. She still had one person who believed in her, Ethan, her best friend since college. He was the kind of guy who stayed up all night editing her demo reel, who drove her to auditions when her car broke down, who told her she was meant for more, even when she couldn't afford dinner. He never judged her choices, not once, until the night he did. That night, she came home with a new contract in her bag and a guilt she couldn't hide. Ethan saw it in her eyes before she said a word. "Who do you have to be this time?" he asked quietly. She laughed it off, said it didn't matter, said it was her big break. But he just looked at her, really looked, and said, "If this is what it takes, maybe it's not worth it." She turned away before he could see her cry. Because deep down she knew he was right. But she couldn't stop. She'd already traded too much to walk away now. That night, she opened her laptop and stared at the unsigned contract, her hand trembling over the keyboard. Outside, the city lights blinked like warning signs. Her phone buzzed again. A message from Ethan. "I can't watch you lose yourself, Lily. Not like this." She typed back, "You don't understand. I'm this close. Just a little more and it'll all be worth it." But he never replied. The next morning, his number was disconnected. And for the first time since she'd come to LA, she felt completely alone. Her new world, the one built on fake smiles and staged perfection, suddenly felt like a prison. Every photo shoot, every interview, every deal she made took her further from the person she used to be. And every time she looked in the mirror, she saw less of Lily Carter and more of the mask she was forced to wear. Until one night, she walked into a party and saw a photo of herself on a giant screen, a campaign she never approved, a story she never agreed to tell. Everyone was cheering, everyone but her. Because right there in that flash of light, she realized what she had truly sold. Not just her dreams, but the only person who ever believed in her. And as the applause echoed around her, she smiled for the cameras, while her hands shook behind her back. The same hands that once held Ethan's camera, the one they used to shoot her first audition tape in his tiny apartment back in Bloomington. She could still remember the way he'd laughed when she forgot her lines, the way he said, "Don't try to be perfect, Lil, just be real. That's what people fall in love with." But real didn't sell in Los Angeles. Real didn't pay rent. Real didn't get you through the door when everyone else was willing to lie to get inside. She raised her champagne glass, pretending not to notice the hollow echo inside her chest. A producer leaned in close, his breath heavy with whiskey. "You're the new face of everything now, Lily. The world's finally watching." She smiled the kind of smile she'd practiced in the mirror, the one that said she was fine, but her eyes told another story. Later that night, when the lights dimmed and the laughter turned to noise, she slipped out the back door, heels in her hand, makeup streaking down her cheeks. She walked until the city started to blur. Every billboard with her face on it felt like a lie she couldn't escape. Her phone was dead, but even if it wasn't, there was no one left to call. No one who'd pick up anyway. She ended up at the pier, the same one Ethan used to take her to when they first moved to LA. They'd sit for hours eating cheap tacos, talking about the future like it was a movie they'd already seen and loved. The ocean looked different now. Colder. Like it was keeping secrets. She sat on the railing, staring at her reflection in the black water, whispering, "Who are you now, Lily?" For a long time there was no answer. Then a voice behind her, soft, uncertain. "I've been asking myself the same thing." She turned sharply. A man stood a few feet away, hands in his jacket pockets, face half hidden by the shadows. For a heartbeat, she thought it was Ethan. Same build, same quiet stillness. But it wasn't him. Just another stranger. He looked at her for a moment, then said, "You look like someone who forgot what they came here for." She let out a shaky breath. "Maybe I never knew." He nodded slowly, like he understood. "Then maybe it's time to remember." She wanted to ask him what that meant, who he was, why he was even there, but before she could, he walked away, disappearing into the night. She sat there for a long time after, staring at the horizon, waiting for something, a sign, a sound, a reason to keep going. Then her phone buzzed to life in her hand. A new message. No name, just a number she didn't recognize. It read, "You don't get to quit now, Lily. You owe us too much." Her heart stopped. She looked around the empty pier, the shadows, the water, the wind carrying whispers she couldn't place. And somewhere behind her, a car engine started. A slow, deliberate rumble that rolled through the fog like a warning. Lily froze, every instinct in her body screaming to run, but she didn't. She turned, squinting through the mist. Headlights cut across the pier, blinding her for a moment. Then, the car engine went quiet. A black SUV. Tinted windows. No plates. Her phone buzzed again. "Don't make this harder than it needs to be." Her stomach dropped. She took a step back, her heels scraping against the wooden boards. The passenger door opened. A man stepped out, the same producer from the party, still in his tuxedo, jacket loosened, tie gone. "Lily," he said calmly, like this was just another business meeting.
You missed your cue. She swallowed hard. What do you want? He smiled. The kind of smile that didn't reach the eyes. What we always wanted. The story, the face, the girl who was willing to do anything to win. She shook her head, clutching the railing. I'm done. I don't care about the contract. I don't care about any of it anymore. He walked closer, slow and careful, like he was approaching an animal that might bolt. That's the thing about deals, sweetheart. You don't get to walk away once the world knows your name. Her phone slipped from her hand and hit the pier with a crack. She took another step back. Her heel hit empty air. The ocean waited below, black and bottomless. The man stopped. You really want to throw it all away for what? Some kid who couldn't handle your success? She froze. Her pulse spiked. How do you know about Ethan? His smirk deepened. We know everything, Lily. He was a problem. You don't have to worry about him anymore. The words hit her like a punch to the chest. What do you mean, don't have to worry? He didn't answer. He just looked at her, like someone studying their next move. And for the first time, she saw what had been behind every deal, every offer, every smile. Control. Where is he? She whispered. The wind whipped her hair across her face. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a folded photograph, something creased, wet at the edges. He tossed it toward her feet. She bent down slowly, hands shaking, and picked it up. It was a picture of Ethan, standing in the same place she was standing now. The pier, the railing, the same fog curling behind him. But his eyes looked different. Empty. And in the corner of the photo, scrawled in ink, were 3 words. He tried to warn you. Lily staggered back, her breath catching in her throat. The man's expression didn't change. You see, Lily, he said quietly, you didn't just sell your dreams. You sold your story. And we decide how it ends. Her fingers tightened around the photograph. Somewhere behind her, the ocean roared louder, and for the first time, she thought about jumping. Not to end it, but to finally be free. The man took 1 step forward. Come with me or this gets worse. She looked up, tears blurring the lights, and whispered. He took another step forward, his polished shoes creaking against the wet wood. Lily backed up until the edge of the pier pressed against her legs. The cold wind whipped across her face, carrying the salt of the ocean and the hum of the city behind her. She clutched the photograph so tightly it tore between her fingers. I'm not going anywhere with you, she said, her voice trembling but steady enough to mean it. He exhaled through his nose, the way people do when they've already decided how the conversation ends. Then he pulled something small and black from his coat pocket. Not a gun, not a knife. A phone. He tapped the screen, then turned it toward her. A video started playing. It was her, sitting in a studio she didn't remember being in. She looked exhausted, eyes red, makeup smeared. She was talking into the camera, voice low and raw. I did it, the video Lily said. I took the deal. I don't regret it. I knew what it would cost. The man lowered the phone, his grin widening. Public statement. Scheduled to post tomorrow morning. Your fans will eat it up. Brave, tragic, beautiful downfall. They'll call it your truth. Her stomach twisted. I never said that. You recorded. Oh, sweetheart, he interrupted softly. You said plenty. You just don't remember when. The pier groaned under the weight of the tide. Lily took a shaky step forward. You think people won't see through it? He tilted his head. They never do. They see what we want them to see. She looked past him at the glowing skyline of Los Angeles, the city she once thought would save her. Now it looked like a trap that she'd built with her own hands. You ruined him, she whispered. You ruined Ethan. He shrugged. He got in the way of the brand. Her throat tightened. She didn't know if the tears on her face were from grief or rage, maybe both. Then, somewhere in the distance, sirens wailed. Faint, but growing closer. The man's expression flickered. Just for a second. He turned his head toward the sound. Lily saw her moment. She kicked off her heels and ran, barefoot, full sprint, down the length of the pier. Lily, he shouted, his voice sharp now, the calm gone. She didn't look back. Her breath burned, her hair whipping around her face, her heart pounding so hard it drowned out everything else. The wooden boards rattled beneath her feet as she reached the end of the pier. The final post, the edge of everything. She stopped. The ocean stretched before her, black, endless, alive. Behind her, the man's footsteps grew louder. You can't run from this. You are this. She turned slowly, her face lit by the flicker of a broken pier light. Then maybe it's time I stop being what you made me. She took a breath. Deep, deliberate, and closed her eyes. The sound of the waves below, the hum of the city behind her, the echo of Ethan's voice somewhere in her memory saying, "Be real, Lil." Then just as his hand reached for her, she stepped backward, and the world fell away.
The plunge hit like electricity, cold, violent. The Pacific swallowed her whole, dragging her into its dark lungs. She opened her mouth to scream, but the ocean filled it first. Salt and silence wrapped around her as the world above blurred into ripples of light. Her body twisted, her arms fighting to reach the surface, but something, fear, memory, maybe guilt, pulled her down harder. She thought of Ethan again, the way he'd always said the ocean could wash anything away if you let it. Maybe that's what she wanted now, to wash it all away. The lies, the deals, the name that wasn't hers anymore. Her lungs burned, her vision flickered. Then through the water she saw it, a light, faint, far but steady. She kicked toward it, her body screaming for air, the sound of her heartbeat louder than the waves. The light grew stronger, warmer, and for a split second she thought she saw a figure. Standing on the surface above her, hand outstretched, waiting. It couldn't be him. It couldn't. But she reached anyway. Her fingers broke the surface first, then her face. She gasped, coughing, choking, dragging in air like it was life itself. The pier lights looked smaller now, distant, but the SUV was gone. No one there. No trace, just the faint echo of tires fading into the night. She swam, arms shaking, until her hands met the rough edge of a wooden piling near the shore.
She hauled herself up, collapsing onto wet sand, her dress torn, her hair plastered to her face. Every muscle in her body trembled, but she was breathing, alive. The waves lapped at her feet, calm now, as if the ocean itself had decided she'd done enough dying for one night. She rolled onto her back, staring at the stars that peeked through the smog. Her chest rose and fell, slow, uneven, human. Then, a sound. Soft footsteps crunching across the sand. She pushed herself up, her eyes wide, heart pounding again. A shadow moved near the lifeguard tower, tall, deliberate, silent. Her breath hitched. "Who's there?" No answer. The shape stepped closer, into the moonlight, and she froze. It was Ethan. Or at least, it looked like him. Same jacket, same face, same quiet calm in his eyes. But something was off. He wasn't wet, not a drop. And his eyes, they didn't blink. He stopped a few feet from her. "You shouldn't have jumped," he said softly. His voice was the same, but hollow, like it came from somewhere far away. She took a step back, her heart hammering. "You're not real." He tilted his head. "Maybe not, but I'm still here." Her voice cracked. "Where did you go, Ethan? What did they do to you?" He didn't answer. He just looked at her, sadness etched into every line of his face. Then he said, "They're not finished with you yet, Lily." The wind picked up, whipping sand into the air, and when she blinked, he was gone. Just the empty beach, just the crash of waves, just the city lights flickering in the distance. Her phone, still in her pocket, buzzed once. She pulled it out with shaking hands. The screen was cracked, water damaged, but one notification glowed through. New message, unknown number. She hesitated, thumb trembling over the screen, then opened it. Only one line appeared. "He tried to save you once. He won't be able to again." The words burned into her mind like fire. She stared at the screen until the words blurred from the water still dripping off her eyelashes. The phone flickered, then went black. Dead. The beach was empty, silent except for the slow hiss of the tide dragging against the shore. Every sound, the wind, the waves, even her heartbeat, felt like it was coming from somewhere else. She tucked the phone into her jacket and stood on shaky legs. Her whole body ached, the salt drying on her skin like glass. In the distance, she could see the lights of downtown, the tall towers of glass and steel glimmering like a promise she no longer believed in. She started walking, barefoot through the cold sand, through the parking lot where the SUV had been, through the streets where neon lights buzzed over empty diners, and billboards showing her own face, smiling back at her. Every ad, every poster, every glowing screen carried her name, Lily Carter. But none of them felt like her anymore. She passed one massive screen outside a studio building,
a trailer for her upcoming film looping endlessly. Her voice played over it. Sometimes you have to lose everything to become who you're meant to be. She stopped, staring up at her own face. The irony hit like a knife because she had lost everything and she still had no idea who she was meant to be. Then, behind her, a reflection moved on the screen. Someone standing just over her shoulder. She turned fast. Nothing. The street was empty, but the reflection was still there. She looked back at the screen, and the figure was closer now. Too close. Her stomach dropped. It wasn't Ethan this time. It was the producer, smiling, standing right behind her in the reflection, but nowhere in sight. Lily? His voice echoed faintly like a whisper carried through static. She spun around again. The street empty, lights flickering. Her chest tightened, breath shallow. This wasn't real. It couldn't be real. Then her phone buzzed again, even though it had been dead. She looked down. The screen glowed faintly, water still dripping from it. A video began to play automatically. It was the pier, footage from moments ago. Her standing on the edge, the man reaching for her, the plunge. Except this version kept going. She watched herself sink beneath the water, motionless, no resurfacing, no light, no escape. The camera kept rolling until the water got still. Then a final frame appeared, a timestamp, tomorrow's date, and beneath it, white text began to type itself out, letter by letter. The story ends when we say it does. She dropped the phone. It shattered on the sidewalk, the sound echoing through the empty street. Her knees went weak. She backed against the wall, shaking, trying to catch her breath. Somewhere above her, a streetlight flickered, then went out. And in that sudden darkness, a voice, close enough to feel the air shift. Welcome back, Lily.
The voice came from behind her, calm, almost gentle, the kind that could have belonged to anyone. Lily froze. The street was empty, the silence between the city's hums too perfect to be real. She turned slowly. A woman stood there, tall, composed, wearing a sleek black coat that looked out of place against the cracked concrete and flickering lights. Her smile was faint, practiced, the kind people wear when they're used to getting what they want. "You've caused quite the mess," the woman said softly. "They don't like when their stories go off script." Lily swallowed hard. "Who are you?" The woman stepped closer, heels tapping like a metronome against the pavement. "I'm the one they send when someone forgets who they are." "I know who I am," though her voice trembled. "Do you?" "Because the Lily Carter I represent doesn't jump off piers. She doesn't question contracts. She performs. I'm done performing." A faint laugh. "Then you'll disappear like all the others who said that." Lily's pulse quickened. "You can't control me anymore. You can't own me."
The woman's smile faded. Oh, Lily, we already do. Every frame, every word, every breath you've taken since you signed that first paper. You think you escaped tonight, but you didn't. You just gave us our ending. Lily shook her head, stepping back toward the center of the street. No, this isn't your story anymore. She reached into her jacket, the photo of Ethan, still torn and water-stained, pressed between her fingers. The woman's expression softened for a brief second, as if she recognized it. Then she sighed. You could have had everything. Lily looked up at the skyline, at the giant screen still looping her fake smile above the boulevard. No, she whispered. Now I finally have something real. She tore the photo in half, the sound sharp and final, and let the pieces drift into the wind. The woman didn't move. She just watched, her face unreadable, then turned and walked away, heels fading into the night, until there was nothing left but the wind and the faint hum of traffic. Lily stood there, breathing in the city she once thought would save her. Her name glowed above her in 10-foot letters, bright and hollow. But for the first time, she didn't look at it with regret. She turned toward the beach, toward the faint sound of the waves she had crawled from hours before. The horizon was starting to pale, a faint silver line of morning breaking through the clouds. She walked barefoot down the empty street, past the posters, the billboards, the ghosts of who she'd been. Each step lighter than the last. When she reached the edge of the sand, the tide touched her feet again. Cold, but clean. She closed her eyes. The sun began to rise, and as the light hit her face, soft and golden, she finally smiled. Not for a camera, not for a deal, not for a dream, but for herself.